She can hear the breathing before she can see it. Rough, deliberate, impossibly close. Helena is 23 years old, born into nobility, and she's been forced to her knees in the center of the Hippodrome of Constantinople with 50,000 people watching from every side. Her wrists are bound in iron, her ankles are shackled so tightly she cannot stand or turn. The summer sun burns through the cloudless sky, and the sand beneath her is so hot it feels like it's peeling the skin from her palms. But none of that compares to the sound now filling the arena behind her. The scrape of hooves on stone. The low snort of something massive and powerful being driven toward her back. The crowd erupts. They're not here for chariot races today. They're here for her. This is the Byzantine Empire at its most calculated, its most ruthless. And what you're about to hear isn't legend or exaggeration. It's documented history. The kind that makes you realize the word civilization can mean something far darker than we've even taught. Because the Hippodrome wasn't just an arena for entertainment. It was a machine. A tool designed to break human beings in public. To turn defiance into submission. To make sure that anyone who even thought about challenging the emperor would remember what happened to people like Helena. And it worked. For centuries, it worked. Helena's crime. She was connected to the wrong family at the wrong time. Maybe her father spoke too loudly. Maybe her brother stood in the wrong section during a protest. It didn't matter. In Byzantine Constantinople, you didn't need to commit a crime to be punished. You only needed to be useful as a warning. And so here she is, chained in the sand, unable to see what's behind her but able to feel its presence growing closer with every breath. The bull moves slowly, guided by handlers who know exactly how to stretch this moment out. They're not trying to kill her quickly. They're trying to break something deeper. Her dignity, her name, her future. The crowd's roar builds as the animal is brought within feet of her. She tries to twist her head but the chains won't allow it. She can only feel the vibrations through the ground as it steps closer. She can only smell the dust and heat and the faint scent of the animal's breath. Her shoulders shake, her throat tightens, and then she screams. The sound cuts across the arena and is swallowed instantly by the noise of 50,000 people watching her terror unfold in real time. This moment, this exact image of a noblewoman reduced to helpless panic, will be repeated in whispered conversations across the city for months. That's the point. That's always been the point. But this isn't where the horror began. To understand why Helena is kneeling in the sand with a bull at her back, you need to understand what this place really was. The Hippodrome was built to look like entertainment. 400 meters of track, stone seating for tens of thousands, an ornate imperial box where the emperor sat above it all. On race days, the place exploded with color. Blue banners and green banners, chariots painted with symbols, drivers treated like celebrities. But beneath the sand were corridors, hidden cells, passageways that allowed guards to move prisoners in and out without the crowd ever seeing them arrive. The Hippodrome wasn't just a stadium, it was infrastructure. A stage where loyalty could be measured, obedience could be rewarded, and disobedience could be erased in front of everyone who mattered. And in the year 532, it became something even worse. A grave for 30,000 people, slaughtered in a single afternoon because they dared to unite against the emperor. If this story shakes you, if it makes you realize how thin the line is between order and terror, stay with me. Subscribe now, because the histories we're uncovering here don't just belong to the past. They're blueprints, patterns that repeat, and the more you understand them, the more you'll recognize them when they try to return. Helena's story doesn't end with the bull, it ends with something far more permanent. Let me show you what the empire did to people when it wanted to make sure they never recovered. The bull never touches her. That was never the plan. After minutes that feel like hours, after Helena's voice goes raw from screaming and her body sags against the chains, the handlers receive a signal from the shaded imperial box above. They pull the animal away. It resists briefly, then turns and is guided back through the gate. The crowd's energy shifts. Some laugh, relieved they didn't witness something messier. Some jeer, disappointed. Others fall into an unsettled silence, disturbed by the fact that nothing visible happened and yet something clearly did. Helena collapses forward onto her hands. She's alive, she's untouched, but she is no longer the person who entered the arena. She's been turned into a story. A name people will whisper when they want to explain why certain women stay silent, why certain families avoid politics, why certain friends decline invitations that sound even slightly dangerous. Helena is led away in chains. She's exiled shortly after. She dies young, and her cause of death is never recorded. It doesn't need to be. As far as the Byzantine Empire is concerned, the part of her that mattered died in the Hippodrome that day, and she wasn't alone. After the Nika riots of 532, after the Emperor Justinian ordered his soldiers into the Hippodrome and had them massacre between 25 and 35,000 people trapped inside, the arena became something new. It had always been a place of spectacle. Now it was proof of what happened when an entire population forgot its place. The survivors told their children, the children told theirs. And for generations, the mere mention of the Hippodrome carried a weight that didn't need explanation. The punishments that followed were surgical. Some were quick, like blinding. The Byzantines perfected this method because it removed rivals without creating martyrs. A blinded man couldn't lead armies. He couldn't read documents or sit confidently in power. But he could walk through the streets as a living warning. Romanos IV, a former emperor, was blinded in front of a gathered crowd after a failed campaign and political betrayal. People watched him enter the hippodrome as a ruler and leave as a lesson. Others were tied behind chariots and dragged across the sand. Not at racing speed, but slow enough for every person in the stands to see exactly what happened to a human body pulled across stone. The hippodrome had become a theater of erasure, and every performance was designed to be unforgettable. Women, especially noble women, faced something different. Execution could make them martyrs. Humiliation destroyed them more completely. The ritual was methodical. A woman accused of adultery or treason or simply being connected to the wrong faction would be arrested and stripped of everything that marked her status, her elaborate hair cut off, her fine clothing replaced with rags. Then she'd be marched around the 400-meter track while her name and crimes were announced. The crowd would jeer, insult, throw whatever they had. At the end, she'd be forced to kneel in the center of the arena while her sentence was read. Exile, loss of property, loss of name. She would live, but only in body. Her identity, her future, everything that made her someone, would be gone. The Empress Theodora, who had grown up on the margins of this world, understood its power better than anyone. When she gained authority, she used the hippodrome against women who had once looked down on her. They were paraded, broken, and erased. Their social deaths completed long before their bodies failed. The ruins of the hippodrome still exist in modern Istanbul. Tourists walk along the old track, sit where stone seats once rose, take photos of ancient columns. Few think about what this place was built to do. They see history. They don't see the machine. But that's what it was. A machine for turning power into fear, for turning citizens into witnesses, for turning dissent into cautionary tales that everyone would repeat. The Byzantines saw themselves as civilized. They preserved Roman law, copied ancient texts, built churches that still stand, and they did this. They refined cruelty into strategy. They made terror efficient. They understood that the most effective violence doesn't always aim for the body. It aims for identity. It makes sure that when someone leaves a space, they are no longer who they were when they entered. Helena has no grave that people visit. Most victims of these spectacles don't. Their names are scattered through chronicles if they appear at all. But the system that destroyed them can still be studied, still be recognized. The tools change. The logic doesn't. Modern states still use public examples. They still humiliate opponents. They still stage events that teach populations what happens when power is challenged. Sometimes the arena is a courtroom broadcast on television. Sometimes it's a press conference. Sometimes it's a coordinated campaign online. The hippodrome is gone, but the pattern it perfected has never disappeared. It only waits for the next society that believes it's too civilized to repeat the past. If this story unsettled you, if it made you think about how fear becomes control, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Because these histories aren't just lessons, they're warnings, and the more people who understand them, the harder they are to rebuild in silence.